Hey guys, welcome back to part two of acute versus persistent pain. How does it change? So if you haven't, I would recommend tuning into part one of this video as well as Pain Science 101. That way you have a little bit of background knowledge about what we're going to dive into today. But if you didn't, my name is Jess. I'm currently a third year DPT student, and this is part two of acute versus persistent pain. So we're going to focus on the central nervous system this time because we wrapped up the peripheral nervous system last time. So moving on to the spinal cord and the brain, your central nervous system. So how danger messages work here is through what we call descending inhibition and facilitation. So in typical situations, danger messages come into the spinal cord from the nociceptive nerve endings. The spinal cord sends that information to the brain, which then decides if the spinal cord is over or underreacting. If the brain decides the spinal cord is overreacting, it sends an inhibitory message down the cord to not create pain. Something like, dude, chill, you stubbed your toe. Now, if it decides the spinal cord is underreacting, it facilitates an excitatory message down the spinal cord to create pain. Something like, your foot's been crushed, do something. So in typical situations, those decisions and messages match the actual threat level of the situation. In persistent pain, something's altered. So at the spinal cord level, similar to peripheral sensitization, the nociceptors in the spinal cord become hypersensitive despite a lack of input. So basically, in persistent pain, the spinal cord is always yelling at the brain, help, help, we're standing on broken glass, even though the peripheral nociceptors are scratching their heads like, dude, what are you talking about? It's a rug. It can both overreact to a stimulus, like making a pinch feel like a stab, or create danger messages in the absence of a stimulus, like phantom limb pain. Now, that being said, even in the presence of a sensitized spinal cord, the brain still makes the decision on whether or not to create pain. This is where context, experiences, information from other sensory organs, and a whole lot of other things come into play to help the brain make that decision. So let's go back to that nasty pinky toe example. Really sticks with you, doesn't it? And what actually happened, where it healed no harm, no foul, my periphery sent a danger signal to my spinal cord, which sent a danger signal to my brain, which put it in the context of all the bumps and bruises my feet have gotten over the years, decided it was no big deal, and sent that inhibitory signal down the spinal cord, resulting in no pain. Now, when I look down and my visual system sent the information to my brain that it was my blood and my toe had suffered real damage, the context in which my brain was making a decision changed, and it decided to facilitate an excitatory signal down the spinal cord to create pain. So your brain is always learning and adapting, and the context in which it's making decisions is always changing. So these changes happen even faster, both at the brain and at the spinal cord, in the presence of fear. Our bodies and brains are made to learn and adapt faster and communicate better with each other in the presence of fear, as that fear tells the brain if there's an imminent threat. So while this is super important in the presence of an actual threat, we get scared all the time, even when there's no actual threat, like a scary movie, or more commonly, anxiety. Our brains have no way of discerning whether we're anxious over an exam or anxious because there's a lion coming to eat us. It's all the same to those systems. So how we feel about our pain can make all the difference. So let's get back to that pinky toe example. Yeah. I felt fine about the pain coming from my toe because I wasn't worried it would result in something terrible. I was pretty sure I was going to be fine. So say the same thing had happened to my friend, and my friend ended up having to get their foot amputated. And when this happened to me, I got scared that I too would lose my foot. My pain experience could have turned out very differently. On top of psychological drivers like fear, anxiety, and depression, the brain can also have changes to its pain neurotags that lead to persistent pain. So a neurotag is a network of neurons in the brain that together produce an output from the brain. So we have thought neurotags, movement neurotags, memory neurotags, and yes, pain neurotags. The more we use them, the better they get at firing. Like the more we practice the Cotton Eye Joe, the better that neurotag gets at firing, and the better we can show off our skills. Same thing happens with the pain neurotags. The more we think about the pain, the better our brain gets at firing that brain neurotag. So over time, that pain neurotag becomes more sensitive. It fires more easily and creates pain more easily. However, it can also become less precise. So it can start to fire when neighboring neurons fire for their respective neurotags. This is called smudging. So, say my toe incident had gone on to create some sort of persistent pain process. If this smudging was happening in my brain, maybe my toe would hurt every time I went to the dance studio, or every time I thought about dancing, or every time I heard the song that I was dancing to when the injury occurred. So the thought, situation, sights, anything related to that moment could start to trigger my pain because of that smudging and lack of precision. So you see, this pain thing is hella complicated. There can be pain from injury, pain from the nerve endings not calming down after that injury, pain from the spinal cord not calming down after that injury, pain from being afraid of that injury, and pain from the memory of that injury. So, depending on what's going on, there are different ways to treat it. But the most important thing to remember is that no matter the situation, it is treatable. And given the right tools and support, you can fix it.